This video is intended to show you how I created this photo. This photo didn't start off this way. This actually started off looking like this. So this was shot at 2,000th of a second at f4, which is why it appears a little bit on the dark side. And as you can see, this was taken in a controlled environment. This was taken in the Owl and Hawk Sanctuary down in Devon. So all I did here, now my workflow always starts in Lightroom, and then I will go to Photoshop if I need to, and then come back into Lightroom to finish things off. This is my workflow. So what I did here in Lightroom is I just cropped it to put the focus more on the bird, then we did some auto toning and a little bit of sharpening. At this stage I took this into Photoshop. So let's take this finished image, because one of the things I do is I never ever flatten my photos. And the reason I don't flatten them is because sometimes I might want to go back and adjust stuff, or I might want to use this as a reference for editing other photos. So this image started out looking like this. This is how it came into Photoshop. So I'm going to select the spot healing tool so I can try and get rid of some of this rubbish in the background. The secret to using this tool is to make it just a little bit bigger than the thing you're trying to remove. And so all we do is we just click on the area and wipe. And we might need to do this 2 or 3 times just to clear up any artifacts. And there we go, it's done a pretty good job. Next thing I'll try and do is do these verticals in the fence, like so. Make sure I don't go over the bird. And then we'll do the horizontals. And again, the key to this, don't try and do everything. Do it in small parts, little sections. Just keep trying it out and just keep painting. And you'll find that you'll get rid of most of this. Now after a while, what I did is I ended up with this photo. It's not too bad. We've got a couple of repeating sections. This section here looks like a repeat of that section there. We've got this area here which looks like a repeat of this section area here, and maybe that area in there. So what I would then do is I'd create a new blank layer and then select the clone tool, and I would then just go and pick an area, making sure that this is set to current and below. Select an area and then we'll just paint in there. Select an area, paint in there, paint in here. And then this will give me something which looks a bit like that. I did 2 of these and mine ended up giving me this as a result. I then got a second opinion on this photo actually asked Lou, and he suggested to me that maybe this background isn't working quite as well as I would like, so maybe I should look at removing that. And he also said that the green, perhaps you could probably do something to change the colour of the green to make it even less obvious that it was taken in the UK. So I took that on board and I duplicated this layer. So let's put it up here and get rid of these because I don't need those anymore. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone out this bank up here. And the secret to good cloning, to avoid repeating sections, is to continually sample where you're picking stuff from. So just keep sampling areas, sample different areas. Don't worry if you get artifacts in that perhaps shouldn't be there. Oops, gone over the owl. Undo that. Gone over the owl again. So Now if you do something, just keep undoing it and going back to make sure you don't go over the owl. And so we'll just keep sampling different areas. And you get the idea. I'm not going to go through all of this, but that's what you do. So let's get rid of this layer and I'll show you what the result is. Okay. And that's what I came up with. So the next thing is I want to change the colour of the background. So to do this, I'm going to duplicate this layer. Then I'll need to select the owl. A couple of ways to select the owl. One is to click on the quick selection tool and then just click on the select subject button. That does a pretty good job. You know, it's captured a couple of areas that I might want to then extend, but in general it does pretty well. Or new in the latest version of Photoshop is this object selection tool, where I can just draw a rectangle around my subject and it will do a selection. I just need to fix a couple of areas in here, so let's go back to my quick selection tool, click on minus because I want to just remove in here, and I just want to remove in there. I don't need to be too precise with this because the effect I'm going to apply is actually going to do a pretty good job at hiding what's going on. And if you take too much, then we'll just click on the plus tool and add it back in again. And we can always zoom in to try and refine this mask. Let's click on plus, we'll just take out of here. So we're just going to do this really quickly. As I say, we don't need to be too accurate with this. But you know, obviously you would spend a little bit more time perhaps, and than I'm going to for this example. Let's just zoom out again. And then we click on the mask. And what this has done, this has actually selected the bird. And what I really want, if I show you, what I really want to do is select the background. So what I need to do is invert the selection, and we do this by going to Image, Adjustments, and Invert, or press Ctrl and I. And this has reversed my mask, so now I've got the background selected. So what I want to do now is add a hue and saturation adjustment layer, which is this layer here, or you can go to layer, layer, new adjustment layer, and then we'll check hue and saturation, and we'll use the previous layer to create a clipping mask. And all this means is that what I'm going to do with my hue and saturation is only going to affect the layer below. And then I can select my little hand tool here and then go and choose one of these green colors. Now this, I know it's green that I've selected, and I know that this tool has selected yellows, and that's because in photos greens are made up predominantly of the yellow color, a bit of yellow, mostly yellow, and a little bit of blue. As we know, yellow and blue make green. So what I'm going to do now is adjust this hue slider to change the hue of the background, and we can slide this around until we find something that we find vaguely pleasing, and I would say something like that. And I might then desaturate it a little as well, and perhaps adjust the lightness. And all that's done is that has affected the background. Now notice we've got this pink area here, so I'm just going to fix that by this time I'm going to click on the layer below, and I'm only going to sample the current layer, and we'll just click somewhere and we'll just paint that out. Done. The next thing I want to do is, actually I think I might like to brighten the owl. Sorry, not brighten the owl, adjust the brightness of the background layer. And so what we'll do here is we'll add a brightness and contrast layer, and we'll just adjust the brightness. And again, we'll clip this to the layer below. By this time I'm going to click the little icon there. And that's simply because you know, I didn't go to layer and new adjustment layer, and we'll just brighten that up a bit, and that's it. That's all I'm going to do inside Photoshop. So then we would save this image, and for this I would just click on yes to save it, but I already have done that. And then back in Lightroom, this is where I'm going to finish it off. So this is how it came into Lightroom. We'll adjust the shadows just to get a bit more detail under the wing. Do a little bit on vibrance. I changed some saturation somewhere to get rid of some blue and some orange. And then we've got a few little issues in here that I want to change. Notice around the back here we've got this greenish tinge. I want to get rid of that. So to do this, what I'll do is I will just make a smaller brush, and I'm going to desaturate this area. So I'm going to desaturate it rather a lot so I can see what's going on, and we just paint in here just to desaturate. I'm also going, while I'm here, I'm going to do under the throat as well. Now obviously we don't want it that particular colour, so we'll increase the saturation, and then we'll increase the yellows just to blend that in a little bit better. Maybe we'll play around with the tint as well. And all I'm trying to do is match what's in the background. Okay, something that's going to look a bit like that. And that's really what I did with my brushing. So select the area, do the saturation adjustment, do my toning. So let's click on the brush so we can see what happened. Do my toning. Oh, I did colour instead. Again, adjusted my saturation. Again, used the brush to brush here under the throat, and then having done that, I added a slight vignette to it. I noticed when I was working on this, I had a spot up here on the side, just there, and so I got rid of that because I don't want to give the judge any reason to mark it down for things like this. And then it's just finishing off the toning, and that's how I finished that photo.